Hi, this is Greg Johnson with resourcesforlife.com, and this is a brief video response to 5 questions that came in by email from Carrie. And she asks, regarding the small house movement and my small house experiences, question number 1, how did you become interested in the small house movement? Well, my interest dates back many years actually. I've been interested in sustainable living and simple living for many years. And one of the challenges that I identified, and I guess others have identified it as well, is that within the sustainability movement and the alternative energy movement, there is obviously a desire to be using solar power, wind energy, etc., and cost-conserving appliances and heating and cooling, etc. But when you're living in large spaces, a lot of the sustainable options really are not as affordable or cost-effective. I mean, let's say you're trying to heat a 4,000 square foot home and provide electricity to it, etc. You're going to need a lot of power, assuming that you're using, standard technologies for heating and cooling and cooking and that type of thing. So when I began exploring smaller living, that really, to me, was exciting because I saw that in really significantly downsized living spaces, what you get is the ability to really utilize solar power and wind power in ways that are cost-effective for pretty much everybody. I know of somebody who lives about 30 miles north of here in Iowa City. They live about 30 miles north, and they wanted to go off the grid. Well, they did, but it cost them about, I think, $30,000 for the wind generators and the solar panels, the battery systems, and all the electronics that went into it. Well, not everybody has, $25,000 to $30,000 to go off the grid, and most of the folks that are building tiny homes are spending maybe less than that on the house itself. So anyway, I think that's what initially got my interest regarding the small house movement and trends. Question number 2, how and when did you co-found the Small House Society, and why? Well, the when was in 2000. I was getting a text here, which was kind of distracting me. Okay. Anyway, in 2002, there was a meeting with Jay Schaefer, Shay Salomon, and Nigel Valdez to explore what is going on in the nation with regard to the small house movement. And at that meeting, I was present, and I suggested that we start an organization. And long story short, they had laughed, and I said, "What's so funny?" They said, "Well, we were talking about you as a person to start the organization." So anyway, it was just kind of a serendipitous meeting, and so the 4 of us met and thought up the name Small House Society and created this simple website to sort of start out the organization. That was back in the fall of 2002. In the spring of 2003, I began working with Jay Schaefer to build the tiny house that I lived in from August 2003 until August 2009. So those 6 years I was living in the house. It took Jay and I about 2 or 3 months to build the house. And it's just really an amazing experience. I ended up writing a book called Put Your Life on a Diet, Lessons Learned Living in 140 Square Feet. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can read the book. Just go to putyourlifeonadiet.com. And then question 3, you lived in a 140 square foot tiny house for 6 years without running water or electricity. How was that experience? Well, it was great. It was kind of like, being on vacation every day for 6 years. And in building the house and situating it and thinking through all the, the options with regard to living in that space, I wanted it to be as much like a retreat as possible. And it really did remind me of various vacations that I'd been on. And so it was really a good experience for those 6 years, and I learned a lot about simple living. Question 4, you moved into an apartment just this past month, yep, August. Why give up the tiny house? So basically at the time, as I started looking at other housing options, I'm engaged right now, and my fiance's now here, so we want a space that's a little bit closer to downtown for both of us for transportation reasons, and also a space that's a little bit larger. I plan to do a little more socializing, I think, at this point. It is nice to have a kitchen. It's nice to be able to do my workout at home, since now that we're living together, I want to be able to have more time together rather than going to the gym is just one more hour away from the house. So another 7 hours a week, let's say, or more, going to the gym, which takes away from time together. So there's some benefits to having a slightly larger space for that reason. But I think also it's the dynamic of the Iowa City community that plays into that as well. There's so much to see and do in downtown Iowa City. It's not possible to build a tiny house down here. Most of the land is owned by businesses or the university. So I'd love to live in a little cottage in downtown Iowa City, or maybe by the river, but the land just isn't available. So you kind of do what you can based on the community you're in, and this is where I'm at right now. So, and finally, the last question, question 5. In your opinion, what defines a tiny house? Well, I do have a page on the website that talks about specifics of how many square feet or square meters a tiny house would be. But I think basically it's really up to the individual. Certainly homes that are 2,000 square feet, that's sort of the average, I would say, well, that's not a tiny house. But homes that are in that sort of 500 to 700 square foot range are certainly smaller than usual. If one is considering that question from the standpoint of space utilization, if you have a family of 5 living in 1,500 square feet, that's going to feel pretty small. So, as far as per capita square footage, I guess you have to look at who's living in the space and how are they using it. Is it being used for work and residence? If so, the space would probably be a little bit larger than what my experience was, which was really creating kind of a rooming house that was freestanding off the grid cottage, basically. So anyway, I really appreciate the questions that keep coming in, and I hope this short video answers those 5 questions adequately. Feel free to continue sending emails or phone calls or video responses, and I look forward to hearing from everyone soon. All right, take care.